So in the last video, we were able to make a successful network request using URL sessions, and we printed out the data. But in this video, we will convert this data into the readable format. So the first step to convert this data into the readable format is either we can convert this into a string, or we can convert this into our model objects. So the easiest way is to convert this JSON data into a string. So how we will do it is we will create a string object, and the string object has a parameter. One of the initializers of the string class has a initializer that takes the data, and it takes the type of encoding. In this case, the coding is UTF-8, and we will convert the data into a string. So this is an optional one, so let's do this. Guard let else return. So now we will print the result. So now you can see what we got in the postman. We are receiving it here in the string format. But most of the time, parsing the string manually and showing this stuff on the UI is very hard. So there are inbuilt techniques in Swift that were released in Swift 4, I think, some version of 4. I don't know which subversion, but some version of Swift 4 that will let you convert this JSON string or this JSON data into model objects, into model structs. So as you can see here, the top level struct or the top level JSON object has this thing called data. So first we will create a structure which will have these 4 properties. So we will go to our Swift playground and we will create a struct down here, and we will name it user. You can name the struct anything. It doesn't matter what you name the struct itself, but what matters is what you name the properties or what you name the variables in that struct. So there are multiple techniques to match the property name with the name that comes in the response. So let me open that. Either you name exactly like this. So first we will do this simple. We will name our variables in the struct exactly like this. So it has ID, email, first underscore name, last underscore name, and avatar. So we will create these properties here. Email, then we had first underscore name, then we had last underscore name, and then we had avatar. So let's confirm the data types as well. So ID is an int here. So you have to match the data types as well. So now we have this, but this is inside another struct. So you can see that this JSON has a property named data, and then that data is an array which has these properties. Each object of that array has these properties. So we will create another struct here. We will name it response. So this is basically the parent response object, right? And this has a property named data, so we are naming this exactly what was in the JSON response, and this data is an array of users, right? Now we will convert this data into these model objects. So we'll remove this. To do that, Foundation Framework has a class named JSON decoder, which means that will decode a JSON data into the model objects we want to decode them to. And there is another parallel class which is JSON encoder, which will convert a model object into a JSON data. So we are doing the opposite thing. We are converting the JSON data into the model objects. So we will create the object of the JSON decoder class, and then to convert this JSON decoder class as a method named decode, and in the decode method takes a parameter of a type. So this type is basically, it asks us that to which type do we want to convert our data. So that is our response type here. So response type, we want to convert the JSON data into the response type, and it asks for the data, right? But now if you will see that, it will throw us an build error that it says that instance method decode from requires that response confirm to decodable. So this error is very clear that it's saying that this response that the type that we are trying to pass to this decode method should conform to a protocol called decodable. So that's what we will do here. We will make this response struct conform to decodable, right? So now type response does not conform to protocol decodable. So here what we have to do is we have to also make this user conform to decodable. So whichever objects or whichever structs that are in the JSON, if they are custom ones, so by default a string, an integer, a double, these conform to decodable by default. But whatever custom structs or classes we are creating to convert the JSON data into those models, we have to manually confirm those structs to decodable protocol. So here we have to convert that response into a user object as well and into a response object as well. So we have to confirm both of these structs to decodable. So now let's move on to the next step. Next, it says that call can throw, but it is not marked with try. The error is not handled. So basically this decode method throws an error if it's not able to convert the JSON data into the required model structure. So suppose if we name this variable as datas, which doesn't match with the name here, so it won't be able to convert the JSON data into this struct, right? So we have to make sure that those property names are correct. So how to resolve this error? There are three ways, but one is the suggested way, one is the recommended way that we will follow here. The first way is we can do an optional try. So the result that we will get here will be an optional response of type response. So we have to unwrap it, and if it's not able to convert the data, this will be nil. Second way is we forcefully do the try, and if we do this, then the application will just crash if it's not able to confirm the JSON data into the required response. And the third way is we will use do catch. So we will make the call to decode method inside the do block and handle the error in the catch. Here we will say cannot convert the response to the required objects, and we will also print the error message. Right, and now we can print the result here. So let's try to run this code and see what we get in the console. So now you can see here we get this response, which is this class. It has a property named data, and data is an array of users, and you can see that this is the first user up until here, this is the second user up until here, and so forth. And we can also basically read the just the data property here. If we do data and run this, you can see now it's just printing the array of users, and we can pick up the first index, or we can iterate it through for user in result.data print user. And so it's now printing all the user objects. So one last thing that I'm gonna show you in this video is that I was talking about. If the property name is wrong, the application will crash, right? So let's do that. So name this property as datas, which doesn't match this one, and we will remove this for loop and just try to print the result. So what will happen now is when it will try to convert that or decode that JSON data into the response object, it will fail because it won't find a property named data in this struct. So let's run this and see what error do we get. So cannot convert, it's a spelling mistake, cannot convert the response to the required objects. The data could not be read because it is missing. Because it couldn't find the property named data, the error is the data couldn't be read because it's missing. So we have to be very careful while naming the properties here. So this is the thing that I wanted to teach you in this video. So in last two videos we have learned how to make a get request, a get network request using a URL sessions class, and then how to convert the JSON data or the response that we get from a REST API to the required model structure in our iOS app or in Swift. So these same principles can be applied to a real world application when you have an iOS app. Thank you very much.